y'all visited a little town known as Jean Lafitte. That where we launched from right there, that little community, that little village, they call it the end of Crown Point or Crown Pern, and that's also the end of Osborne Road. This little island back here, this is where I'm from. This is the island of Barataria, or Backetaria, and that little community on the other side of the island. This waterway that we went through before, that's the Bayou Barataria. That is the natural waterway. At one time, Bayou Barataria was a tributary to the Mississippi River, which means that we used to get the direct flow of the Mississippi River from directly into this area. Wow. We don't have it anymore because man inhabited on the side of it, put levees up, stopping the fresh water getting into here. This causes a very large problem for us, known as the saltwater intrusion. What it is the Gulf of Mexico gets closer and closer now because it doesn't have the fresh water to push it back. Now that right there, that's a natural waterway. A bayou or bayou, that's a natural waterway. It has no beginning and no end. It goes from one waterway to the next. This particular waterway, it goes from the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico. This large body of water, you can see a ship coming through it right there. That's a man-made structure. That's known as a canal. A canal is a man-made structure. It has a beginning and an end. This particular canal is known as the ICW, or the Intracoastal Waterway. This waterway goes from Texas to Florida, and once it hits the east coast by Florida, it goes all the way up, almost all the way to Boston, I think.
What?
Yeah, this was made for these large ships you see coming down the canal right there. During the winter time, the eastern seaboard in the Gulf of Mexico, you're looking at about 6-7 foot swells, really rough, really dangerous. So they built this canal for them to travel during the winter, so it's really really safe. Now, this bayou and this island right here is named Barataria. Barataria, loosely translated from French to English, means that this is an unlawful waterway, or that there are dishonest seamen in the area. This gets its name from the pirates that were found here. This town up to the left of it is named Jean Lafitte. This is named after one of the more famous pirates known in the area. Now, my father's side of the family, they come from that's how I got my last name, Bourgeois. But my mother's side of the family actually was here before everyone else. They were part of the pirates that were from here. They were the parents, the Perron.
Wow.
This is y'all are on board with one of the direct descendants of one of the pirates in the area. This is not a tall tale. You can go back and I swear you can.
Wow.
Lewis and Clark, when they done their expedition down into this area, they hit the crescent shape, which is known as the city of New Orleans. Got out on the west bank, they started walking around, they bought donkeys from some of the Indians that was around there to navigate. Once they made it down into this area, they seen that this was all a bunch of little bitty islands. They needed more boats to continue their expedition to the Gulf of Mexico. They come upon a man, his name was Manuel Parent Sr. They purchased the 2 pirogues from him. They traded off the 2 donkeys for 2 pirogues, and they was able to finish their exploration down to the Gulf of Mexico. That's my mother's side. That's my great 5-6 time great grandfather on my mother's side of the family. So if y'all have any questions anytime during the tour, do not hesitate to ask. I do not have a biology degree. Any questions that I give you will all be passed on to from either my mother's side or my father's side of the family. Now, this waterway right here that you see the break in the land, that's Lake Salvador. That's Louisiana's 3rd largest lake. Now, the pirates that traveled in this area, the reason why they like this area is because the Gulf of Mexico is so close. Down that bayou right there is only about 35 miles south. You'll hit the Gulf of Mexico. The river is only about 4 miles north of it. The only other way to get from the river to the Gulf of Mexico is to go through the mouth of the Mississippi River, which is about 7,500 miles south of it. So this is a shortcut, you know. And this way right here, this is another way to get into this area. This would have been the more lucrative way that pirates used because the backside of that lake right there is about 4 or 5 different entrances to get to that lake. Really shallow bayous and bays that connected to get into there. These palm trees on the bank over here, those were planted by the pirates in the area. This was used as a landmark to identify that they was in the right spot. You travel up this bayou right here. Everywhere where they got palm trees right there, you take a left-hand turn and take it to the river. This is the landmarks that they use. It's really distinguishable amongst the rest of the vegetation around here. Now that house behind it with that extra story on it that's not a mother-in-law's house or some an extra loft or nothing. That house is about 200 years old. It served as a lighthouse before World War I to let everybody know that this is the way to get into the city from that lake. Very crucial as far as United States shipping is concerned because it goes into the Mississippi River. If you take over the Mississippi River, you got the whole middle of the United States all to yourself, uncontested. This is why this particular area right here, the Battle of New Orleans went on a little bit up the river. This is why the pirate Jean Lafitte was this town named after him, because he helped us win the war of 1812 against the British, because he had a nice armada and he knew all of these backways to get in here. Wow. The original way to get into this area right here is through Bayou Louisiana through that lake before this canal right here was cut.
Sweet.
Now the earliest inhabitants to this area though lived on this island, this point right here. This lake right here is named Lake Salvador. It's named after the Indians that were found on this mountain right here. This right here is actually an Indian midden. This whole entire island is comprised of these freshwater clam shells. This is an Indian midden. An Indian midden is more or less a trash pile to the Indians. Whatever they ate, they just tossed it on the side, eventually building a land on it. Y'all notice the cemetery on the left-hand side where we passed? At one time, that land right there was almost connected to this right here. The original Bayou Louisiana is about a little bit twice the size of this boat is wide. Now, this island is about 10, 15 feet taller. Y'all notice the large mound behind that cemetery that we passed? It's about how tall it used to be. The first inhabitants that come down here, they were French. The majority of them had some money, being that the pirates were in the area, they were heavily into the slave trade. So what they did was they started a whole bunch of plantations, or as concessions is what they was known at the time. So they started concessions. They had the Valar plantation was on that side. This one right here that reached about 2,080 arpents on that side of the bayou, which is the French conversion of how they sold the land, right? It's 191 feet, point like 9 something is an arpent, is 1 arpent. On that side of the bayou was a Virtue plantation. That was one of the first plantations in this area. They harvested tobacco and rice, sometimes sugar cane, and a little bit more sandier places around there. They made a good money from the stuff they sold off there, but the people that owned the Virtue plantation was the Joneses. On the map where we launched from right there, that's known as Jones Point. Right here, this is known as Jones Island, because named after the man that owned the plantation. Mr. Jones, he made some good money from the tobacco and the rice they grew on that plantation, but he made the majority of his money by selling off these shells to build streets in the cities of New Orleans. This is why this hill is not as large as what it used to be. Now, they've done some carbon dating to the pottery found in the inside of this Indian midden that dated back to a little bit before 200 AD. Now, every time I pull up over here, find you some.
What?
Now, when we're done with it, you gotta toss it back on the bank. This is actually a national park.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not even supposed to get off on the bank.
Sure. Okay.
They might water it down over.
Yeah, it's almost destined for me to be on the boat.
Wow. This is cool.
Right? Pull up on any different spot around here and pull up Indian pottery place.
Yeah, this is cool.
At one time, the diet was predominantly the freshwater clam. Now, the freshwater clam in this area is actually not here. It's actually not found in this area no more because we don't have the fresh water directly from the Mississippi.